Hey everybody, it's Kneecap here, and in this video I'm going to be talking about the idea of solo queue for rated PvP in World of Warcraft. If you haven't thought about solo queue before, and this is the first time you're thinking about it, you might think to yourself, why isn't it in the game? Or you might already have a reason why it shouldn't be in the game in your head. And I don't know for sure the reason, but if you follow my channel at all, you know that I tend to kind of be on the same brain wavelength, whatever, of Ion and the dev team, because they kind of, you know, see things the way I do. I feel like in many ways, and from listening to interviews with them about it and reading articles about it, some going back a ways, it seems like the number one issue is they don't they basically don't have currently the infrastructure set up to support against the toxicity of it. World of Warcraft is a game that does not ban players very often. You have to do something really egregious. You have to be super racist, super hateful, super angry. Like anger, it has to be beyond anger, murderous intent to get early banned in World of Warcraft. The issue when you start putting competitive play in is it gets even more toxic, and you have to start thinking about doing at least small bans, at least from the content or something, for a period of time, and then multiple offenses, fully banning. I think they've gone away from this because they don't want to ban a large percent of their player base, is one reason. And that's just not how the game has been traditionally. And so they don't have the infrastructure in place where you would report people, and after 5 reports, it'd be like, all right, you've been reported by people. And then they also don't have the infrastructure to stop people from trolling. So, like, let's say an entire guild reports somebody, the automated system would ban them, and then they'd have to review it and be like, oh, sorry, that entire guild reported you just to kind of be jerks to you. And so you have to avoid things like that. That's the reason. So that's not a great reason because other games deal with this in certain ways. The way other games can get around it, though, is that you don't have the ability to communicate. It's generally just a bunch of single players or a bunch of 2 or 3, maybe up to 5 group of friends playing, and you don't have this ability to coordinate, communicate easily with like hundreds of people to do the reporting thing. So an automated system almost is awful, honestly. And so I don't want to spend too much time on that, but that is basically the reason, in my opinion, why it has not been implemented so far. And it's something that they could clear up, but it would take a lot of iterations and a lot of like fine tuning to make sure you're getting it right. Make sure you're not banning people for no real reason other than just basically trolling. There's arguments against it. There's arguments for it. The main argument for it is every other PvP game has it, right? And it's ease of access. Some people don't feel socially comfortable joining groups, like in the group finder, like in the pre-made group finder, teaming up with them. It would also, honestly, for the rated thing, if you queued for the rated, it should put you automatically into a voice chat with them. So if you have a microphone, you're just automatically talking to them. So that way you're not like exchanging Discord servers and stuff. Just automatically put you into the WoW voice chat with the person or persons that you queue up with, that it pairs you with. And if you don't have a microphone, it's fine, just like other games. But if you do have a microphone, you're able to communicate. I think that would be actually really good as well. I'm kind of thinking of Overwatch just because I'm trying to think of like actual Blizzard games. So like Blizzard, but like Overwatch, you're in a party, you're all in the voice chat, and you either talk or you don't, and you're not forced to talk if you don't want to. So I'm personally all for it. So after doing a bunch of pugs, just so many pugs, it can't get any worse, and I think it would just help the quickness of it. Because right now I'm over it. Like I've I try to handle my anger as best I can. And so I'm already kind of over the idea that yes, I'm going to queue as somebody who has, let's say a 1700 rating, but somehow doesn't use like their Ring of Peace at all, doesn't know that they have it, or a random priest who says, "Nah, Mass Dispel has too long of a cast, so I'm not going to dispel." I'm like, what? You have to dispel. You have to dispel that. He's like, no, too long of a cast. Can't do it. and like I said, the monk that didn't use Ring of Peace, no matter what, and just this crazy stuff happens. And I'm sure that goes away once you get, or yeah, I hope it goes away once you get like into the 2000s and stuff of ranking. But it's the general player base isn't going to be there. So we're just talking about, and the general player base isn't going to use this solo queue method. They're going to be queuing with their friends, their teammates that they've made over time. Um, so it wouldn't really affect them anyways. So I'm all for the thing against it is because of toxicity. You look at games like League of Legends, how toxic it is when you're just queuing up these random people on a whim, and they think that the barrier of having to go into the group finder whittles a lot of those out, which it probably does. That's a good argument. But at the end of the day, I think it's just as toxic, just as crappy of an experience pugging right now. Whether you join in with the group finder or if you were to just be paired with somebody, I think you would need to do something as far as being able to check what you want to play with or whatever. So you say, I only want to play with, I'm queuing for twos and I only want a healer. Your wait time is going to be longer. If you queue for twos and you put healer or DPS, that's going to be the fastest queue timer possible because heals or DPS. Because comp is so important in Arena, and you could do this for rated BGs too, by the way. And a lot of people are a lot more open to rated BGs doing this. But you could also specify exactly what you want if you're willing to wait for it. So you could say, and it would automatically do people close to your CR as well. You would say, okay, I'm a rogue. I want to play with a fire mage. That's what I want to play with, and I'm willing to wait, 20 minutes if I have to, but I want to play with fire mage. And what you do have the opportunity to do as well is if you really, really like your teammate, you can add them as friends or something and then queue up with them, just like you can in any other game. You play with somebody really good. I'll just keep using Overwatch as an example just because it's a Blizzard game. You play a game with a really good Lucio or something. I don't know who's good anymore. I used to play a lot more. But a really good Lucio. And you're like, man, you want to play? You want to party up and play? And then you just queue with them. So you could do that as well. You could differentiate them. You could have a rating for solo queue and a rating for group play, like pre-made group play. I don't think that's necessary, in my opinion. I think once you get to a higher ranking, it's all going to be pre-made group play. I think it'd be pretty cool to see how high somebody could get from only solo queuing. I think that would be interesting. But overall, I never had a hard opinion on this before because I haven't done this much PvP since Cataclysm. And so it's quite a that's quite a long time since I've done this much PvP, and I wasn't sure what the right answer was, but man, I cannot tell you how frustrating it is because I'm not an expert. I think I'm probably like in the 1800 to 2K skill range, maybe 2100. Skill range wise, if I'm just judging it across the people that I'm facing at like 1700, I think I'm a decent amount better than them. But when I randomly just get a partner, like they have a good CR, they have decent gear, but then they just say these weird things or they have these oddities about them, like I won't use Ring of Peace, I refuse to cast Mass Spell. On a lower CR, on like a 1400 CR, my alt, I had a partner that just get soloed by the healer like a minute into the game. And it was a class that could self heal, and I'm just like completely soloed by the healer. I was on the other side of the map, kiting the DPS. I was on my druid, and I look up and my partner's dead to the healer. I thought he was gonna kill the healer while I was. He had like 4K more health than the healer, so he had more gear. It was just a tragedy, and so if that's what I'm gonna get anyways. I found myself waiting, or not even waiting. I'm just trying to find anybody close to my CR because I've given up on, you find a really great person every once in a while and you add them to your friends list, of course. But I've given up on just like always having to find that because the wait's too long. I'd rather just get some games in. If the player stinks, you leave group, take their losses, take your loss of rating, and move on, I guess. So for me, just to get rid of that waiting time, because like on my druid, it might take me like, because I'm a lower CR my druid, and it's really rough climbing. It might take me 15 minutes before I find somebody. Whereas if on that character at that CR, if I was a higher CR, I'd be more picky. But I'm pretty much willing to play with anything. I just want to get games in. At that CR, anybody can tell you this. At that CR, when you're pugging, you're basically carrying your team if you're going to win. It's either two really bad people or one good person. And one bad person, the good person has to carry them. That's usually, and then every once in a while you get two good people, and then you push your rating up. But most of the time, I think everyone would agree on that. So that's my take on solo queue. I'm all for it. I do think you have to be careful how you implement it. I think you have to be very diligent about it. But I want to see it. I want to see it because it'll save me time. It'll save a lot of players time, and I don't think it'll be much more toxic or worse experience than it currently is. So that's about it for this video. As always, I ask you to please subscribe to the channel because it helps me out so much. And other than that, everybody have a good one.